This is an open letter to the Sane Society. Uh, it's going to come across a little sexist today. So those of you who are, of the female gender may want to, not listen to this if you are uh, very emotional. So here's the thing, folks. What we associate women with is with emotions. Rightfully so, because, a woman is either crying or screaming. Often. Not all the time, but often. Uh, all kinds of emotion. The whole fact that women love these um, love stories, the idea of, liking love stories, it means, they're more in tune with their emotions. They're in tune with their emotions. Okay, that's a good way of putting it. I hope so. So all evidence points to the fact that women are more in tune with their emotions. That's the evidence. That's where the evidence is pointing at. Women are more in tune with their emotions. As such, that we consider women to be more emotional with all the all the attitude that they show and all the things that they like. It all has to do a lot with emotions, and emotions such as, we say, okay, love is the most most important emotion, but there are a whole range of emotions, from jealousy to hate to envy to uh, vanity. These are all emotions. So emotion is not just love. Fear, all of these is emotions. So when you say, okay, when even women agree that they are more in tune with their loving side, with their emotion in terms of love, they're also very much more in tune with their emotions in terms of uh, fear and uh, envy and jealousy and hate and disgust and horror, and all of those emotions are more, women are more in tune with all those other emotions. Vanity, you know, that's, have you seen women at age 70 wear a very thick mascara and very thick this and very thick that, trying to pretend they're 18? Yeah, you see how healthy I am? You see my red lips? I'm 75, but I got red. I got ruby red lips. So the thing is that's vanity. I mean, you gotta love, uh, you know, Dolly Parton. You gotta love Dolly Parton and the life she led, but it's a little vanity when you come out at 75, 80, whatever, 85, whatever, however, how, however long she has existed, but she still goes on stage and dresses like she's, 30 something. That's vanity. That's, at this point, is it, you do it because of vanity and people watch it because everybody likes a clown show. I'm sorry, I'm coming out cross as an ass. Here, the reality is this, sir, folks. Those of the reality is women associated with emotion, being very much more in tune with their emotions than men. But the problem is other emotions that are also they're more in tune with, more fearful, more scared, more jealousy and envy and vanity and all of that. They're more in tune with all of those as well. You see what I mean? So that established. Let's get over that. Women are more in tune with all their emotions. How do we make decisions? How do we make smart decisions? It's understood that smart decisions are made when emotions are set aside. You can only make, a fearful person that can't make a smart decision. A scared person doesn't make a smart decision. Uh, you know, uh, Smart decisions are not made by people when they are at the height of their emotion, whatever that is. So, in other words, I would see a women president with a finger on nuclear button, pushing that nuclear button out of fear, more than I would see a man in the same position wanting to push the button of a nuclear annihilation. Because I would think that women are more in tune with their emotions. So a woman who has shed her pants pushes that button of retaliation or attack based on a misunderstanding much more easily than a man does, because she's making decisions based on emotions. Folks, what is this thing that you want to say that everybody is equal? This idea that everybody is equal and women should be in the workforce and women should be in decision making bodies who should be represented. Yes, yes, and no. Mostly no. Because women, we already established, this is a well established fact, you know this for the past couple of 100,000 years, that your women are more in touch with their emotions. And no decision made based on emotion is ever a good decision. Never, ever. That's why 70% of, I believe I read this, so 70 to 60% of marriages go to the toilet, go into the toilet, break up, divorce, because marriages is a commitment. Is the two sides sign a marriage contract in an emotional state. Oh, we're going to be together and it's going to be great. You see what I'm saying? Marriage is a decision made based on emotions, and surprise, surprise, so many of them end up in not a good place. So, telling that half of all our managers, leaders should be women, maybe I can accept women judges. Maybe having women judges is acceptable. Half of women judges should well, half of judges should be women. But the idea that say no, 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 the head of executive branch should also be a woman. The seat should be open to women as well. Or being a senator should be a woman. The seat should be open to women as well. Eh, the higher you go on your executive branch, the more intelligent uh, person you want that doesn't make decisions based doesn't makes decision based on logic, not emotion. Less emotion, more logic. I mean, if you can't give me the reason for a behavior, if you can't give me a good reason for a certain behavior, then I would say you're committing that behavior out of emotions, not logic. So a lot of things that women do, they can't explain. They can't explain, you have to interpret it, and they can't explain, they expect you to understand something they don't understand, because this all comes out of their emotions. The whole thing, it's these Ab- Abnormal behavior, in my view, mostly comes out of their emotions. They're empty cans filled with emotions. And hopefully, some men, at least in the society, in any society, are empty cans full of logic. You want the empty cans full of logic, which is a specific group of men in your society. They are empty cans full of logic. But you understand that even at you can either have emotion or you can have logic. Most of the time, in case of women, the emotion overruns the logic because the emotion is so near the surface. The fear emotion, the the jealousy emotion, the envy emotion, that all of these emotions are close to the surface. So the result is that when it comes to being fearful, women are much more fearful. When you have the button of the annihilation of the planet under your finger, I don't think a fearful person should have their finger on that button. It's a very dangerous button. A fearful person should not be there. A very logical person should have their finger on the trigger. Because, a very logical person, you know, at the end of the day, let's assume the very logical people. At the end of the day, the logical people would never push the button. You know why? Because if you wouldn't push the button first, the nuclear button first, because uh, you say, uh, I don't want to annihilate life on planet Earth with the nuclear winter. So if you're logical, you wouldn't push the button first. And if you're logical also, you wouldn't even push the button second. Because the logic behind not even pushing the button second, you know, if they first attack, nuclear attack, okay, you wouldn't even consider attacking as a retaliation. Why? Because the, basically you say, let's assume we are annihilated, but let us not empty our mag, like this gangster fellow on Twitter wrote. Let us not empty our mag because at least let some life remain on planet, some humans. We are under a nuclear attack. We are getting annihilated. Okay, fine. At least let us be the bigger guy and not attack, so at least some kind of human race would remain on Earth. That would be the logical choice. That's the whole, turn the other cheek guideline of Jesus. Because, attacking second as a retaliation would put all humanity at rest. Do you want some humanity to remain on Earth or not? If you want some humanity to remain on Earth, you should even put aside attack as a retaliation, doctor. Mutual destruction. No, we are not. I'm sorry. We are going to dismantle our nuclear weapons ourselves. If you want to dismantle it, dismantle it. If you don't, you don't. Because we are not going to attack first, because we are logical somewhat, and it doesn't make sense for us to even attack second because we want some kind of humanity to still be on Earth. We are gone. That's a given. Let's leave at least them around. But I mean, um, this is an option, but it's a very logical option. not to attack first, and not even to attack second. So if both sides, leaders of both sides is the leadership of both sides are very logical men, not emotional women, very logical men, they would, say, yeah, fuck it, disarmament, both sides, Ukraine, their people decide, no, that we don't even need NATO. Since we don't have a Warsaw Pact, we don't need a NATO pact. But these guys are pushing aside. Now these guys are starting an Asia pact. Remember, this is Anglo-Saxons pushing forward into Eurasia. Because of you pushing forward, in Anglo-Saxons pushing forward into Eurasia, is that the Asians have had to form their own pact, and they keep, reprimanding China and Iran for helping Russia, as because you're pushing NATO into their up their ass into the Black Sea. Oh, they want to join us because we got the big dick. All the ladies want to join us because Uncle Sam's managers has got a big dick. I understand, but when you go around swinging your dick, then from time to time your dick is going to hit another dick. What? That's war. So isn't it better for us to pack our dick in our pants, so not swinging it all the time, so we can live peacefully? Uncle Sam saying that, no, 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 we want this lady, Ukraine, wants to also get into bed with Uncle Sam. And there shouldn't be no hindrance in anybody wanting to get in bed with Uncle Sam. So Ukraine is the new bride. And you're thinking to yourself, Russia is like, Ukraine to Russia is like daughter and mother. And now, Russia's daughter has to, well, apparently, has to go to bed with Uncle Sam's managers just because they want to. It's freedom. Freedom from your culture and adapting our culture. This freedom business that they keep screaming is the idea that you have to adapt our culture. You have adapted our language. Now you have to adapt our culture because our culture is only free. Is it? And are those cultures, let's say they are not free, do they have the right to exist in their own format? I mean, sanctioning them is not going to help them improve their format of existence. If you care for them, you don't say, I'm going to sanction you so you can't eat or you can't practice your format of life, and that's for your own good. I'm trying to help you. I mean, sanctioning different countries because they're not following your rule book, your form of government, your form of economy, your form of religion, your form of dancing, your form of, whatever. Because, no, 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 ours is the best. Our form is the best. You have to follow our form of governance. But then we have exceptions, like in case of Saudi Arabia and the home. There we have exceptions too. That's okay. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not okay. Folks, you do understand that people around the world, thank God for the internet, are having a conversation about this. They're seeing this. The problem is a lot of these decisions are being made based on emotions. And religion also appeals a lot to emotions. Religion is not logical. It's an emotional aspect of life. It's not logical. That's why a lot of women are more religious, because again it has to do with fear and jealousy and envy, and all of those emotions are all packed into these religious books. Everything is just playing with your emotion. Yeah, God was mad and he smite these guys, and God was mad and smite those guys. And all about, then the second part comes all about love and giving, and there's all emotions, nothing logical. Very few things are logical in these religious books. It all appeals to emotions and superstitions and traditions and cultures and the weather pattern. So, and many times they have been edited many times, most of them. So the reality is that you want people who are more in tune with their emotions, less in your government. Not because they're more in tune with their good emotions, but because you need to fear their bad emotions, such as fear. You know, you know, not being fearful all the time. That's one of the emotions that women have all in plenty. Most women, let's say, a good majority of women, like 90% of women, are usually more fearful than men. So the idea is that, and you can't, look within that 10% who are Rambo women of Rambo blood, you know, you can't look within that percent, that 10%, look for good leaders in that 10% because those good leaders, first of you have limited your population to 10% of women who are not fearful. Now we have to look within this 10% of how many of them are brainiacs, and then within those, how many are educated, and within that, how many have a high IQ, and within that, so it becomes women one in a million can hold a leadership job properly and make decisions based on only logic and no emotions. As we already went over this, decisions made based on emotions are usually bad decisions. So why do you want to? And we already established that half of your society, your females, are more in tune with their emotions. And we already established that those people in position of authority need to be more in tune with their intelligence. I'm sorry, with their intelligence and uh, facts, no emotions, logic, more in tune with their logic than their emotions. So it makes sense that women should be allowed to, be attracted to more jobs that involves emotions than decision making jobs that involves logic. I mean, these people who are pushing for, uh, you know, pushing for Zionism and expansion of Israel, these are folks who are really reading or liking or interpreting in their own way a very emotional book, a religious book, both on that side and this side and the other side. And then now the Hindus are interpreting their religious texts in a very, with a very emotional latitude. They give, now the Hindus have become very religious all of a sudden after 50,000 years. Salute. My point is this. My point is this. I don't see a need for women to be have representation in all places all the time. Equal represent, just like you can expect, the Chinese and Malaysians and Mexicans to be well represented in your basketball team. You should not also expect women to be well represented in leadership position, because you want people who make decisions based on logic that has been come to by going over available facts. Do you see where I'm going with this? But making emotional decisions based on available facts from a very scared position that usually women have. I'm sorry, women don't need to be represented in the military. That's again, that's a very, you have to be emotionally blocked to kill people. And men are more adapted to that. They forget about the physical aspect of it. The whole idea that, women who are more emotionally involved in life, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's put some of them in the military. I'm not sure if, you're making up numbers, and yes, I guess as long as these women sit behind monitors and play video games, yeah, that's possible. But actually having women be in the battlefield, forget about the other the foe. I have to start, giving cold water to the friend and try to keep this side alive. Talk nice to her. So my point is this, folks, this idea of equality among races, among genders. No, 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 no. We're totally equal. As humans, yes, that's the human right parts. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, considering what is going on in the Middle East and Ukraine. Those humans also have some rights. Apparently, unless they're citizens of certain countries, they have no rights. Yeah, those countries, we call them NATO. Unless you're a citizen of a NATO country, you have no rights. Fuck you. Drop dead. So, here's the thing. A lot of these problems will go away if a group of very intelligent, logical men took control. Not to control like that, but to control in terms of logical men who are backed by these corporations. Corporations understand that in this dog and pony show that is an election, democratic election that you guys have, the candidates that corporations put their money behind should be the most logical ones. Not whoever people pick. People have not been educated for 75 years. So people pick, a boxer, Mr. Herschel Walker. Oh no, sorry, not a boxer, a football player. Couldn't put a straight sentence together, but he had a good chance of winning. People, especially if you don't educate them for 75 years, you know, World War II ended 80 years ago, 85 years ago, and for 75 years, Uncle Sam has been neglecting the education of his population. There is a very thin layer on top of the very well educated, and there is the majority who are folks coming out of, I actually saw it with my own eyes, people coming out of high school who can't read English, not their second language, English. So the point is this: emotion of fear has got fear and envy and jealousy and gluttony and all those emotions and sins, emotions which cause those sins. Let's put it this way. all those are much more present in the female members of your society. So no, and less present in your male members, but more your male members have more logical aspect to them. I think it should be a good idea to have more male leaders and managers who are more logical. This fear mongering and electing women who are fearful already and continuously going to wars over perceived perceived animosity or perceived uh, threat. It's like, let's attack them before they attack us. That was the whole logic behind. Uh, it wasn't a logic. It was an emotion behind the Iraq invasion. Again, that Iraq invasion or Afghanistan invasion, these are all decisions made emotionally. You don't invade a fucking country because, you know, 19 cocksuckers from another country, a bunch of other countries, just, their leader is in this place, in this country. You attack the whole country because one guy who, led them is in that country. You take over a whole country. Because why? Because the Taliban didn't submit. When they said, hand these guys over, the Taliban said, no. I mean, come on. You don't hand over anybody we ask for. Why should we hand over anybody you ask for? And Uncle Sam's managers, got very emotional about it and made a decision to invade the whole fucking country and kick some ass. And then they got more emotional after, 9/11 and with all the losses in Afghanistan, they got even more emotional and they got involved into Iraq as well. And then more emotion of lust and vanity, and they wanted more control and more money. They invaded Syria as well. Why? Because George W. Bush was not a very logical man. He would be closer to an emotional woman to a logical man. If there is a scale, if there is a scale from very emotional woman to a very very logical man, so George W. Bush was more on the woman's side in terms of being more in touch with his emotions because he suddenly became, you know, religious. You when people become religious, you can tell that their emotion have overridden their logic. When people become very religious, it's the point you realize that at this point their emotions, fear and all of that, fear of afterlife and fear of God and fear of angel this and demon that, all these emotions have got the better of them, so they have become religious. They have overridden their logic, the emotions that one has to have in order to become very religious. The emotions have overridden their logic, and the person becomes suddenly religious. These born again of any religion, the Hindus, the Christians, Mr. George W. Bush, Tony Blair. Tony Blair suddenly became Catholic after after war on Iraq, or before it. Suddenly became Catholic. It's sort of like there is a text available. Apparently, George W. Bush had sent to Tony Blair about the fact that has reminded Tony Blair of the Crusades as if those were success. And it's sort of like it's their emotional duty to, did I say emotional? I meant it's their religious duty to go and show them sand niggas what's what. Sorry, did I say sand nigger? I meant towel heads. Sorry, did I say towel heads? I meant those brown people. So the point is this, that when you elect people, and extrovert people are usually emotional because extrovert people are not usually not very well read, not very logical. They're extroverts. I mean, the whole idea of being an extrovert is not a very logical thing to do. Trying wanting to be the center of attention all the time, that's who extroverts are. They want to be between people and be worshipped amongst their peers. And this whole idea of extroverts is by nature, extroverts are not very deep, cannot be very deep. They don't have time to be deep. They're always trying to be in the spotlight. So they end up very shallow. So, but then a political system in which the shallower you are, the easier time you have being elected or selected or whatever, because you're more out there. They know your name and they know your face, and you're more out there, and you have to. Most extroverts are not intelligent. That's why you see very few senators and representatives who are intelligent. Combining being an extrovert and intelligence is a very hard thing to do. You can't, because simply put, you can't read a book in the party. You can't read any kind of literature in the middle of a party. So while people party, those people who are like reading, they are reading. They don't attend parties. So therefore, at the end, they're the thinkers, they're the logical people, but your system of governance promotes and likes and values extrovert people who are less logical, more emotional. If you don't have much logic, you're running your life totally based on emotion. You see, take it to the extreme. The extreme is that, uh, Mad Max. Mad Max is the extreme of lack of logic. What they're basically running on is total fear and hate and, disgust. That's the whole genre of Mad Max movies have been this, that it's a group of people at one point in the future. These people don't work based on logic. It's all emotions. They hate each other. They want to be on top of each other. They want to be in the leader of each other, and they want to so abuse other people and blah blah blah. These are all describing emotions, describing a world led by emotions, not logic. People don't watch Mad Max movie coming out and talking about how logical the decisions were made war while they were watching Mad Max. They don't go to these movies to watch logical actions and reactions. They go to these movies to, see on screen some of the fears that they experience from time to time. Somebody has brought it to screen, so let's go see it. Some of their emotions that they felt, somebody has brought to screen in the form of a movie. Let's go feel those emotions. Even though we know these actors are acting those emotions, those scenes that creates those emotions, but still we enjoy it because it stimulates our emotions. Curiosity is another emotion. I don't, in conclusion, I don't think women should be expected to be in many leadership positions because that would not work out well. We want very logical people in decision making in terms of governance. Senators and representatives, very logical people, very informed, logical people. women usually don't qualify in that category. Very informed and very logical, no. Very few do, but most don't. So please, let's, don't aim for, oh, we have to have 50% representation. No, no. A very logical woman I think, can represent a very logical woman. That's one in a billion women that is very logical, can be make a just as good representative than his logical counterpart, male. But this makes sure it's the logic you're after. And emotional women who invoke fear all the time as part of their speaking patterns in their in their in the way to becoming elected, they just not a good idea. Very much not a good idea. I'm sorry, it's coming across as sexist, but it's just not a good idea. Women, let's just keep them where it's safe and their emotions are less fucked with, and that would be the household. The household is a place which woman is somewhat protected, and her emotions are not inflamed every 5 minutes, as opposed to a workplace where it's a lot of people and her emotions are inflamed almost all the time because she has to deal with a lot of people. At home, a woman has to deal with her children, and all her emotions can be, all her emotional needs can be met at home. And it's going to be mostly love and fear and love and fear. Fear of, harm coming to the family. But in the workplace, I have a feeling women are a bad fit for any workplace because their emotion is all over the place during the workday because they have to deal with so many people, either directly in person or over, online, or over the phone, over the Zoom, over the meeting. No, I'm sorry, bad idea. And again, being emotional and in a decision making position that will affect a lot of people, we already know that what happens if you put emotional people, very religious people like George W. Bush in positions of decision making. They make very emotional decisions, very emotional decisions, mostly out of fear.